and more. And it's not like it gets easier, it almost gets harder. And then you get a tolerance, and then you need to get a, a pill for that pill you were taking. But in this case, recovery doesn't mask the symptoms. Uh, it removes us from the effects of the disease and places us in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on our part. And day to day, the problem will not exist for you anymore. That's a solution. Yes. And so, if you're new or you're not new, it's the same invitation. The first step is just to see that your condition and you're screwed. You could use a more emphatic word, but you're screwed. Yeah. And your attempts to unscrew is part of the screw, really. Yeah. So you're in a certain dilemma, but then it says you are going to observe that something is doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself, which is you haven't drank that day and you haven't not drank for many, many, many days. So something is working. And then based on that recognition, we make a decision, the third step, because obviously we cannot turn our will and life over to the care of a higher power because it's in the care of a lower power at the moment. Yes. So we can't do it. So we decide to do it, which is all that's needed. Yeah. A little bit of willingness based on that decision will probably propel us to do the working steps. And that's what triggers the result. Yes. What gives life to the third step decision is 4 through 9 of the program. So as soon as you make the decision, you're on it. Yeah. They want you to go home and start doing the inventory. Yeah. And what are we going to look at in the inventory? All right. So the first step, I'm screwed and I'm not managerial quality. Second step, I've observed something. I've been sober for 8 weeks. First time in 20 something years, let's say. Yeah. And so I have come to believe that something that can restore me to sanity because I have been restored, yeah, for those 8 weeks. So I've got an inkling that this is working. And then the third step is I make a decision and then I'm off, yeah, and I'm guided by somebody, as you want to call it a sponsor, whatever. And hopefully they explain it to you that the inventory process is really to see the manifestations of what has defeated you in this life, which is from this idea of self. Yeah. And this is where we feel we're trying to emphasize something because it doesn't seem to be emphasized in the community. Most people in the community of recovery will direct us to look at our resentments, our fears, our harms done to others. If you read page 64, it's very obvious they're not seen as ours. They're seen as manifestations of self in one's life. Yes? And it's a very distinct difference, very, very distinct difference. If it goes unnoticed, you're going to be walking around trying to get free from self, but claiming all of its manifestations as yours. So how the hell, yes? If your vehicle could go 50 miles per hour, it's probably be going 12 miles per hour because there's going to be a lot of drag on it. Yeah. And fortunately, unfortunately, I feel that this mistake in a way has been passed on from one person in recovery to the other person. So they tell you the resentments are yours and the fear is yours and the harms done to others is yours, and that you're going to look at your role in things. And if you just look at your role in things, you're going to miss self's role in things. Yeah. And usually what happens is you do the first inventory, but you go back and look at it to a second inventory and you look at self's role in things and you see it has a mammoth role in your defeat. Yes. And there's some there's some space made. There's some relief. I got a sample of it in the beginning because uh, when people describe the disease, alcoholism as a disease, I sort of got that, and it lessened a lot of personal responsibility in those behaviors while under the influence. Yeah. And one of the first times it demonstrated that was I was bushwhacked by an amend. Yeah. I was in a social situation trying to emphasize my face instead of my ass, and someone came in and I couldn't recognize her, and she greeted me and she said, "Hey, hello, Paul. Don't you remember me?" I say, "No, you owe me $500." So I had ripped her off when I was living in Santa Cruz, whatever. And you would think I would have felt a lot of guilt and try to, distract or, deflect or say something about another topic. But no, I stood there, and what I felt was I would have done to her what I would have done to anyone else what I did to her unless you could physically stop me. Yeah. And I realized I didn't feel guilt or shame. I felt I had been taken over by this disease, and what I did under that takeover wasn't all my fault. Yes, that I was driven or compelled or imposed upon by something else, and I started to get the first glimmers of seeing alcoholism as a parasitical movement. Yeah, and from that point on, more and more got revealed until one night I had the privilege of leading fourth step workshops in a lot of places, but my home place was San Francisco. And I had read this statement thousands of times probably, but I had never really got a message that's in there. It's available if you can see it in a certain way. And I was given the eyes to see it this one night, and I saw the statement being convinced self, and vaguely I thought I was self, yes, somehow, or it was myself, or like my dog bit the person and whatever. And being convinced, and I looked up the definition of convinced, and one of the statements was believing with certainty. So believing with certainty that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yeah. We are now going to look at its common manifestations. And then they go right to resentment. Yeah. I don't see how you can miss the description of of resentment as a manifestation of self in one's life. And it says in this sentence, being convinced that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Us doesn't mean the same thing that self means in that sentence. I don't see it. I grew up with English. Yeah. Self is meant to point at one thing, and us is meant to point at another thing. And they're not the same thing. Yeah. So self, a singular thing, has defeated a collective, which is us. And to me, this is when the idea of a parasitical movement galvanized. It was about my 6th or 7th year of sobriety. And then from that point on, I never got another further answer about it. It was just obvious that what has defeated me is not me, and to be very clear about it, and to stop calling its manifestations that are happening through me mine. Just stop. Yeah. You can't wish for something while you're actively pushing it away. It just doesn't work. Yes. If you're saying you want freedom and you're wearing shackles like your jewelry, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're going to be in a cognitive dissonance. It's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. There's got to be an alignment, and that alignment is to have a diagnosis of the exact nature of the wrong. If you don't, you're going to call it you. Yeah. And it's not. And this isn't from my book. This is from AA's book, page 64. In one sentence, it talks about the defeated, and it anoints self as the defeater, and it anoints us as the defeated. Yeah. It anoints self as the driver, and it anoints us as the driven. Yeah. When does the driven become the driver? Never. Never. It's a distinct difference. The driven and the driver. Yeah. We're in the category of driven. The only difference now is we're being driven by something other than self in recovery. Yeah. But we are in an act of being driven. Now we're hopefully being driven by the infinite instead of the finite self. Yeah. This is fundamental, foundational. If you miss this, it has a huge effect all along the way. It's a huge point to see the exact nature of the wrong as foreign to you. Yeah. Or, it's sort of like go away, come back, go away, come here. The dissonance is unbelievable. Yeah. And then because I'm going to share how it was with me. Obviously, when I was growing up, I was ultra responsible for everything. I thought when I walked into a room and someone yawned, it was because I walked into the room. It was insane how responsible I felt. Yes. And I had a great description of it that I noticed quite a lot when I was older, which is when my father got very ill when I was 6. It was sufficient enough for my mother to bring the family doctor to have a big talk with me because my relationship with my father was going to change. He wasn't going to be able to take me to the field and play ball and shit. Yeah. So they wanted to explain it to me. And I understood the explanation, but how I felt was, what did I do to cause my father not to want to play with me? This is the incredible ultra responsibility of self-centeredness. Yeah. So basically, I wanted to I didn't want to be responsible. So I fucking acted out and did this and do that. And I understand why people are very touchy about this because when you come into AA, you start taking responsibility again. And one of the big waves of recovery is seeing your role in things. But there's another wave available, seeing self's role in things. Yeah. If you see your role in things and then have contempt prior to investigation, yes, you're still left holding the bag. That which has defeated you is still seen as you. Yeah. How are you going to be free from it? So yes, I understood. I did an inventory and saw my role and made the amends and took responsibility. But that recovery didn't stop there here. Yeah. It moved on and I saw self's role in things. And it is vast. Has a vast role in our lives. I mean, unbelievably, to the point we're living as if we're self. Yeah. The parasite has convinced the host that it's the host. And the one quality you have that beats the parasite is you're not the parasite. Now we're taking ourselves to be the parasite. So the one built-in immunity to the parasite has been removed by the parasite. Yeah, seriously. This is how I see it, and it hasn't changed in 30 years. And I've been open for it to change. I was brought to this point, and I truly believe if you don't see this, you're looking from it. If you don't see the identification as self, you're going to be looking from the bondage of self. I humbly believe that. I don't think it's personal. I don't think it's unique. It's not a phenomena. I think it's the status quo, basically. Yes. And it's going to inhibit what the recovery program could do with you. It will. Yeah. If you can reach 12 feet, you'll be reaching 6 feet. It's going to bond you. It's going to bound you. Yeah. You're going to be worshiping at the temple of old ideas. Yeah. It's just the influence will continue because you'll be giving life to it. Taking it to be you is like breathing life into it. Yes. Yeah. So when you stay in this program, by the time you hit page 84, the solution is like fucking pure gold solution. Yeah. You're going to cease fighting everyone and everything, even alcohol or alcoholism, really. Yes. That's amazing. When I first came in, it sounded like an order that I was never going to be able to fulfill, but it's an effect, yeah, of doing the program. It's not something that I cause, it's an effect, yeah. This message affects me, and the message causes me to have a newfound ability not to argue with fucking a lot of shit, yeah. And then it says, you're going to be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. So your whole thing that you're the doer and everything, if anything's going to be done, it's going to be my doing it. That's not working in this case. Yes. So you're going to be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. The problem is not going to exist for you anymore. Yeah. That's like solid gold. You can't have anything clearer than that. Yeah. So we just harp on this thing because it's stubborn and it just keeps inserting itself. Yes. And I feel like one of the best ways to work on it is repetition. So here we have 2 talks a week and we basically don't leave this point. And I just feel like we can break its back by repetition, seriously. Yeah. Because people have described it, yet they haven't had a way of furthering the idea. They described it like I've been taken over, and you have. They've been by a demonic possession, and it is maybe, or a demonic intellect, or I have been used for transportation. I want to support that fuse. When those views pop up, I want something to be available in AA that supports that recognition that yes, you have been possessed. And what's possessing you is not you, it's foreign to you. And therefore, because of just that, you can be free from it. You cannot be free as it. That's bondage of self. You're going to be free from it. Yeah. And I think it's almost as if you're taking a long trip. What's the most important step on that trip? It's the first one because it sets the direction. Yeah. If the first step is misguided, then the 10,000 steps that come after are going to reinforce the misguidance. They're not going to correct it. Yeah. They're going to reinforce it. So we're trying to get clear what is the exact nature of the wrong. So look up the word nature. And in this case, the nature of the wrong is foreign to us. Fucking unbelievable. Yeah. Even though this thing has had you like a flu, you're not the flu. Yeah. You have a distinct recognition, even though you're being had by the flu, you're not the flu. Yeah. If you felt like flu-like conditions and they lasted for years, you would take yourself to be the flu, literally. Yeah. And here we are. A disease is a disease of the disease. The one who has the disease is not the disease. Yes. A disease is introduced to something that's not the disease, and then that something gets diseased. Yeah. It doesn't become the disease. It doesn't turn into cancer. You're not cancer. Yeah. You're not prostate, whatever. You're not this or that. But in this case, we take ourselves to be it. Yeah. Wow. So, yes, all the descriptions, they're all helpful. But if this description isn't heard, they're going to be commandeered by the parasite. Yes. You're going to have a lot of self knowledge that's going to avail you nothing. And then hopefully now we'll have knowledge of self, which I feel avails us quite a lot. Yeah. Because if you entertain this idea, I humbly believe this idea is true, and therefore it will work for you. Yes? You have been described as the driven, you have been described of your decisions have been made by self. Yes? It goes on and on and on and on. Something has taken over the controls of the mechanism, and it ain't you. Yeah. Now, and you're never going to be the controller. You're never going to be the great manager. Yeah, but you're going to be managed either by the lower power of self or the higher power of the infinite. Yeah. And you'll know the tree by its fruits. You're going to know in a short period of time what it feels like when you're under the tyranny of self and what it feels like when you're being moved by the infinite. You'll start recognizing it a lot. Yeah. And this is it. We're getting transferred from one way to another way, from the way of life that any life run on self-will is not going to be successful, to a way of life that can be successful, which is a life run on higher power will. Yes? But I believe you need to see the nature of the wrong, because if it's yours, it's going to have you. It doesn't matter what circumstance. If you're in a recovered circumstance, it's going to bleed you slowly. If you're in an active addiction circumstance, it's going to bleed you fast, but you're going to be bled by it. Yeah. Yes. So I can't really move around, or every time I touch the screen, first time we're using it, it goes off somewhere. So it goes to a Yankee blog, and don't want to read that right now. So, Kurt, there you go.
Hey, thanks, Paul. You know, when I
So
was
we're
first reading
talking
that,
about the whatever.
when I first read this, when I went through the steps the first time, the guy asked me, he said, frothy emotional appeal seldom sufficed, and I didn't have a clue what that meant. And he said, like your frothy emotional appeal, that narrative that talks to you as guilt, shame, remorse. And he said, but this was really enlightening. He said, what about others? What about others' frothy emotional appeal? And the experience that came up was standing in front of Judge Dugan in 1979 and in 442nd Court, and him, reprimanding me for drinking again. And I kept trying to quit drinking. The problem was I didn't know I couldn't quit drinking. And it was really enlightening when I was in this part of the book. So
Yes.
that's why I picked it. Yeah.
Frothy emotional appeals, people quickly learned, and it made Al-Anon.
Yeah. Right.
Seriously. They realized frothy emotional appeals don't work. And then and Al-Anon and Codependence Anonymous and all that stuff was produced. Yes? Because
Yeah.
usually, from the eyes we're looking at things, we have misunderstandings. Yeah. You believe Amelia, my girlfriend, she's not, doesn't have addiction and stuff. And she believed no mother would ever abandon their kid. Yeah. Because the mother instinct is so strong. And I said, yeah, well, come to a meeting and I'll show you that a lot of people have abandoned their kids. So we're dealing with a power that's quite unusual. Yeah. It's got a winning record. I mean, all the aspects of alcoholism who go to the alcoholic convention are getting free trips to Hawaii. They're taking over many people. They're very successful. Yes. They're getting first class trips to fucking Croatia. Yeah. And I got the whole family tree. They're all fucked. Yes. So it's I mean, it's a powerful what you call it, strain. Yeah, it's a powerful strain. But luckily now, at a certain time in time, they standardized a solution to it. Before, again, it was just random miracle or, a mea culpa, and then something appeared and you didn't drink again. But that wasn't enough. All the millions that go down the tubes. So thank God they built a way of life and a design for living that if you follow it, you may not get rocketed to the fourth dimension, but you'll take a trip to the fourth dimension, maybe a road trip. But nonetheless, you'll be introduced to the fourth dimension. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What an incredible! It's just incredible, literally. Remember, I do a talk at a church. I used to do this talk, and it was a beautiful place. And when we had to walk through the church to get to the room, hold on, and then getting to the room. So, and I used to pass this lectern, and they had a big Bible on it. One night I stopped and I looked at. They were at a certain page, and it was in the Psalms from the Old Testament, and they were complaining about the winos way back then. Like, what the fuck do we do with these people? Exactly. And now there is a solution, and it's been standardized. It's been made into a program that works. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the other thing is sometimes those revelatory experiences can be a detriment because this thing's unpacking for the rest of our lives. So
Yes.
you know,
Well, it can't cause because the head is going to claim the event. So a miracle is going to be, it's just sort of like when I would have these experiences that I think they could categorize as epiphanies. Yeah. So there would be an epiphany, and it would be so distinctly different than the normal feeling it was noticed. Yeah. And a few of them were served over my life. And I remember when the epiphany would end would occur just when I had a thought, I'm having an epiphany. As soon as there was an owning of the epiphany, it stopped completely. Yeah. And this is sort of how the head works. Yes. It
yeah,
hears about the party being great. When it gets there, it sucks. And it never sees its role in the suckness. Yeah.
yeah,
So you got to know, you can learn about the parasitical movement so that you can recognize it, because a lot of times it's dormant and you can see it wake up. And if it wakes up, we have what we do is to bring it to 6 and 7. Yeah. Before it gets to build a house, we immediately give the blueprints over to 6 and 7. Yeah, so we don't have to. How am I going to get out of this mortgage or rent or anything? No, we just here's the big plan of designs. We turned it over to 6 and 7. Yes, yes. It's almost like a blood cleaner.
yeah,
Your blood is still infected, even though you're not drinking, but your blood system is infected. You can't stay in a hospital forever to get it drained. So while you're living, the infection goes through the sieve of the program, and then some of the shit that gets stuck is not of us, it's the parasitical, like, excrement, so to speak. When that appears, we bring it right to 6 and 7 and have it recycled. Takes out the juice and gets rid of the old ideas. It's awesome. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. It's a way of life. Start practicing 6 and 7. When the head starts telling you how the day is, recognize that as playing God and bring that over and dump it into the recycle bin. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lousy God, obviously. It is. It sucks, literally. You can never convince you're right everyone else. So you're right and alone. It's not a very convincing God of others. You're convinced, but it has a very difficult time convincing others. Yeah. So yeah, it's a beautiful way of life. And just like they would say, you take the steps take you, and then you're living them. Yeah. They're not like you're distinctly a doer and you're doing them. It's all mixed up now. It's become part of us. Yeah. The principles and the suggestions have found a home, and we're being moved by all that. And there's a great momentum of recovery. Yeah. It progresses too. Like we talk about the disease progresses, recovery progresses. Yeah. It
Yeah, we
does. It's got a huge momentum where you're in the habit of being sober and you don't wake up, I've got to be sober today. You don't.
right.
You're sober. It's very clear. Yeah. You don't, oh, I've got to do you no, maybe you don't have to do anything. You're completely in the habit of being sober. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had an old timer that's no longer with us. He used to say, at some point in your sobriety, the numbers have to come off the steps.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly. All this stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
There's so many people have been through this process and they throw out a lot of wisdom, yeah,
yeah.
being in this process because what's directing the process is quite wise and it works. And therefore, if you go through the process, you become wise in certain respects. Yes, yes, yeah. I just want to question uh why would you want to be having the problem tagging along in your 38th year? I mean, seriously, I'd rather have it very clearly recognized as not you, really. Yeah. Because I don't see how you're not going to regret the past if you think you're the doer of it. Yeah. You would be a fucking psychopath if you didn't regret the past. If you were the doer of your past, Kurt, and my past, Paul, you not forgetting it, not, regretting it, that would be a psychopath in society. It would. That's what they call a psychopath. They don't have any conscience. Yeah. So to not regret it, to not shut the door on it, to me is you see you weren't the doer of a lot of that shit. Yeah. Like I was driven and I'm very clear. I know how it feels to be driven. And I know that it doesn't feel that same way as the driver. I know that. Yeah.
Big,
I'm not the driver, but I can feel that. And it tells me I'm the driven. Oh, yes. So and all the book says it, you make decisions based on self-imposed shit, self. It's probably the most used word in the book, I would say. Yeah. And follow some of the shit that comes after it. Self-pity, self-immolation, self this, self that. It's
mm.
got a lot of weird manifestations. Yeah. Yeah.
We got any hands? Let's see. Hi there, Stephen.
I can see Stephen. That's cool. A little bit. Kurt is the emphasized. Oh no, now Stephen is. Oh,
Hey, Paul,
yeah.
the part that Kurt read, I got it here. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effects produced by alcohol. So I always ask, what was that effect? And if you asked me years ago, I would have said, well, if it feels good, if and I think I'm getting away with something, but now I see it as I was trying to get away from something. And they
Yeah.
go on to say about the sensation is so elusive and unless an entire psychic change. And that was my experience. And I think as you're talking, what I'm trying to escape from is the self.
Yes. And the thing
Which,
is, I feel
yeah,
most of
thank
my drinking and using was to get relief from alcoholism. Yeah. Yeah. Because alcoholism convinced me never asked anything of anyone. So I lived in a no. And when I did coke, I would ask a girl to come home and she'd say yes. I got greeted with a lot of yeses, which blew my mind. Yeah. So the drinking and the using really relieved me of the effects of alcoholism. Unfortunately, they furthered it. So I got a very temporary uh, payoff, but the cost got more and more and more and more. Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah, that's why people like it. They're not thinking as much about themselves when they're on their fifth drink. Yes, yes, but it doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't. Just like a lot of things, we call a lot of solutions a solution, and they're not. They're not solutions. There may be a temporary reprieve from a lifelong bondage. That's not a solution. And especially with the drinking and using, it furthers the lifelong bondage. Yeah. Even though momentarily you feel relief, it doesn't stick, it doesn't last. Yeah. Yeah. So you get a little relief and you get, in my case, lots of consequences. But it turned me into a person that was willing to have any other consequences tomorrow, not to feel uncomfortable today. Yeah. So basically, I just wanted relief now. And I didn't, my wisdom didn't go past the next 5 seconds. Yeah. And I knew probably I was going to get fucked, but I couldn't help it anyway. So, and I attracted a lot of consequences when I was drinking. I had like magnetic appeal to people in uniform, a lot of them. 3 sets of uniforms: the blue, the black, and the white. Yeah. Police, judges, and then hospital. That was my flag. It wasn't the red, white, and blue. It was the blue, black, and white. Yeah. Yeah. So
Denise,
I think that's why you feel good. You get a little relief from the mental alcoholism. Yes. Yeah. You forget yourself in a certain way. Yeah. But what a bad, it just yeah, you're signing your life over to some bondage. Yeah. Yeah.
hey Denise, you want to jump in here?
Hey, Kurt, thank you so much for the shares. And I just had a question since you asked for questions. And I just really appreciate everyone, by the way, doing service. So I'm new to working in a treatment facility, and a lot of the buzz inside is that this is a selfish program, and I don't feel it's a self. I feel it's a selfless program, but I have a real hard time. I'm having a real hard time conveying what that looks like, the selfishness, like you were just talking about. So I just wanted to um, see what you had to say about people coming at you pretty hard with um, this is a selfish program. We're doing this because we need to be selfish, and I'm trying to redirect, and it's just a real challenge. So just wanted to see
Mm.
if you had any thoughts on that. Thanks.
Well, my initial reaction is there is a certain accommodating that the person is just extremely selfish. So they're trying to make recovery look as like a selfish thing. Yes. So they're attempting to use the highly active condition of self-obsession and to make recovery something that you should want. Yes. So I think uh, in another venue, it would make absolutely no sense at all. But obviously, most of the people are coming in, and the condition there is a very self-centered condition. Yes. So then they make recovery a self-centered target. Yeah. Yeah. Man, it'll be great if you get recovered and stuff. So they're using the selfishness to make an advertisement for the recovery. Yeah. You see it? Yeah. If you say it, yeah, if someone is engaged is or let's say swallowed up by selfishness, uh selflessness is not attractive. Yes, it's not attractive. It's almost an it's like it's almost like a poison to the selfishness, obviously. So you just want them to stay, yeah, with the hopes that the process will affect them, which it's not a hope, it's actually a belief, and it will if they just stay. Yes. And so let's make it a there's everything else is selfish and self-centered. Let's make recovery a selfish endeavor. Yeah. Just to have them stay in as we have that statement, don't leave before the miracle. Yes. So if you want to trick them into staying, fucking great. Yeah. It's just the staying is important because they may in the fourth or fifth day have a sense of identification with the others that are there, yeah, and break out of that terminal uniqueness,
Yeah.
and then so on and so forth. And then the spirit can, I mean, the program can tenderize their fucking thick skin, so to speak. Yeah. So if you read the big book, they really accommodated everything, like agnostics, everything. They bend over backward to get people in the door because they believed once they got in the door, they'd see the value of what was offered. Yeah, because all these people were sober at a point where no other point in their life could they be sober. So they were really jazzed up, but they tried to make the biggest gateless gate as they could, yeah, just to get people in. And the same thing I feel now. Make any story up about it, just have them stay. Yeah, I feel, yeah.
Alyssa, what do you think? Miss Alyssa. Let's see. Got it?
I'm unmuted, I think.
There you
Hey,
go.
um, so as part of the, because that gets built into me, it's like, a way to get around that issue so I'm not arguing with somebody. Instead, I just say, oh, well, for me, it's not any of those. I'm just learning a new design for living. That means that I didn't have a map, I didn't have the directions. And so this plan for me just gives me different directions, and I don't have to decide I like them or not. I'm just going to look at them and see if they work. And that usually it usually right sizes people without actually manipulating. Because I want to fix people and I want to save them, and I immediately forget step one and all that kind of stuff. So my other sort of point of dismay was, and maybe it's just the literal understanding of specific words and what they mean, some old ideas. Um, I have had a few sponsees. If I tried it, I actually had no one person locally who was in drug court. My sponsor said this wasn't me that did it, and the person had, in that tone of voice, had a drunk driving accident, killed two people, and paralyzed a child, and that doesn't fly. So I'm a little concerned of like feeding denial by saying it isn't you that did it. The body carries out the actions and is still responsible no matter who the driver is, for me. And that was my way of asking a question. I know it came out like a telling, but it's sort of like is there a suggestion on following your um, differing interpretation, how to apply that so that people don't squirm away from that? Oh, it's not my job, especially people who love to avoid. Avoidant is on a lot of people's inventory. Thank you.
Well, actually, no, in a way, because anything that's said or offered is going to be claimed by the head where the problem resides. So you're never going to get a perfect thing that's going to be left a perfect thing when the head claims it. Yes. So in a case, these people or the head will make outlandish claims based on it's not the doer. But if they stick around, that's sort of an adolescent phase of understanding, and they'll probably get over it. Yes, yes. But the head is going to use whatever is said. So are you going to try to filter what you say? Give me a break. Yes. Yeah. So whatever whatever understanding or invitation is offered, the head is going to use it, try to use it for its own advantage. That doesn't mean it's wise to stop inviting and putting it out. Yes, it's just, it's part of the situation. It's people's heads are going to run away with any idea that's ever offered. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to try to construe it to get a self-centered end, or yeah, and therefore, and a lot of times, whatever person is doing that, it sounds very similar. It's very tinny. It doesn't have any weight with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just a quick claiming of the message by the head. And it's unavoidable because that's what happens. And actually, the message uses that unavoidability to point out something. Yeah. That the movement of the parasite is it claims everything that's happening to us and presents us as the one it's happening to. That's what it does. It's a very quick movement in time. It's called claiming. So conscious contact brings about contact. The head arises and claims that conscious contact and says it's you that's in conscious contact. Yes? Yes? And now you're the doer of everything. And of course, if you heard an idea like this and you had killed two people, you better believe the head would rush in and try to get a little relief by saying, I'm not the doer. Yes. But in this world, you know, you're in Rome and you do as the Romans do. There is not a president in the judicial system that you're not a doer. So whatever happens through you, you're accountable for. That doesn't mean you're responsible.
John.
Yeah. No, no, we can stay if she wants to stay too.
Okay.
I want to get this through in a way. Uh, you're beholden to what happens here through the body. But to sit there saying you're the doer of it is going to be a bondage that's going to go a lot farther than, uh, yeah. It's almost having like a teat that the parasite's going to suck on for 40 or 50 years. Yes? Yeah. So that's how I see it. Uh, you know, it's just sort of like when you give food to people, some people along the way steal the food and they try to sell it and whatever. Yes, what are you going to do? Yeah. Then you have them over to your house and you feed them. Yeah. So the middlemen and middlewomen aren't there to take the food. So you cause an effect in a small field, a small area like where I live. Yes. Yeah. So of course people are going to run with everything. The head is. Does that mean we shouldn't invite anything to anybody? Of course not. Yeah, just the way it goes. What's happened? There has been so many beautiful ideas that have caused terrible effects when people get their hands on it. Yeah, Christianity for one, let's say. I mean, talk about claiming a message and then turning it into something else. Yeah. So, yeah, that's where I stand with it. She's going to go to jail. She's going to be in jail. The action figure is going to be held responsible. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. A lot of times that which thinks it's the doer tries to use the non-doership as an excuse. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't mean you're really the doer. You just feel like it. There'll be points where you're not going to feel like the doer. Yeah. And you're going to be accountable and you're still going to be accounted for it. But you're not carrying the conviction in you. Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Anyone else? That's all
Yeah,
right, honey.
John.
Yeah, I want to get the drift a little bit.
Unmute, Jed.
John, unmute.
I'm John. I'm an alcoholic, and I
wanted to draw your attention to Bill's clarification of the selfish issue, which appeared in a letter in 1966 and appears again on his As Bill Sees It on page 81. I draw your attention to that. I can read it if you'd like, but
Yeah, I don't have that.
okay. The title is Selfish. Quote, I can see why you are disturbed to hear some AA speakers say AA is a selfish program. The word selfish ordinarily implies that one is acquisitive, demanding, and thoughtless of the welfare of others. Of course, the AA way of life does not at all imply such undesirable traits. What do these speakers mean? Well, any theologian will tell you that the salvation of his own soul is the highest vocation that a man can have. Without salvation, however we may define this, he will have little or nothing. For us of AA, there is even more urgency. If we cannot or will not achieve sobriety, then we become truly lost, right in the here and now. We are of no value to anyone, including ourselves, until we find salvation from alcohol. Therefore, our own recovery and spiritual growth have to come first, a right and necessary kind of self-concern. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Well, self-concern isn't selfish. He described selfish and then he just described self-concern. Yeah? They're different. So first things first, in one way of looking at it, would mean selfishness. Yes? If the head makes up what's first and it's always first things first, that would be construed as selfish, wouldn't it? Yes?
I'm here. I was muted.
So look at first things first. You can have first things first in a selfish view, which would be everything that I want would be put as the first thing to any other want. Yeah, that would be selfish.
Exactly.
Describing self-concern is the calling of the situation in let's using recovery, which is without the recovery, everything else is going to go awry, so to speak. Yes, we're at a point where the elephant in the room needs to be addressed first and foremost. Yeah.
Yes, the metaphor that's used around in these hereabouts is if we're on an airliner and the cabin loses pressure and the oxygen masks drop and you're sitting next to an infant, it's a good idea to put your own mask on first before you address the infant's need
Yes.
for
So,
the oxygen. So,
yes.
yes, first things first. That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
Yes. And then, though, in the self-centered lexicon, first things first would be your desires and wants. Yeah. That would be the selfish interpretation of first things first. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
first things first, I've got to make $1 million. First things first, I got to do this. I got to do that. Yeah.
That would be the
That would-
self-centered,
Yeah,
view.
that would be the selfish, self-centered thing. Yes. So again, it's not the thing, not that which is put first. It's that which is seeing it as first. Yes. It's more the view than the act. So when the idea of the spirit awakening as the most essential necessary condition for the recovered for the alcoholic or the addict, yes, yeah, that's in that view. That's first things first. First things first is don't drink today, yeah, and da 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 da, yeah. That's past the point of selfishness or not, yeah. That's essential, yes. For you to be of service, you need to be in at least a certain condition. Let's say sober condition. Yeah. So now, what we were talking about earlier of people trying to escape responsibility by saying they were driven. Obviously, you can say the truth, but it's being used in a different manner. Yeah. So the head just wants to use it as an excuse or a way out of feeling stuff it doesn't want to feel. Usually, when that occurs in here or with other people, it sounds tinny. It doesn't hold much weight. Yeah. So you see that that which you're not has claimed the message that you're attempting to understand. And this understanding is a very selfish, self-centered understanding. Yeah. This is a way of getting out of jail free, so to speak, card. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's going to happen in most cases. It's going to arise. In a lot of cases, you'll see that as not you. Yeah. And you'll grow out of that aspect. So, and a lot of people aren't. Yeah. So they're going to hear something and they're going to make it into something else. That's, uh, you can't help that. All you can do is invite. Yeah. And hopefully explain the warnings of how the mental state is going to react to it so that when the head wants to use it as an excuse, you see that as not you. Yeah. Sooner or later, hopefully. So, yeah, I think we're trying to kill two birds with one stone with this. Yes. So you get it? I like what Bill W. said. In spirituality, it's the same thing. Like Ramana Maharshi said, when people were talking about the concerns of the world, he said, let the world take care of its concerns. Yeah. Just get about uh, entertaining this awake state. Yeah. Yes. So a lot of those people like Nisargadatta and Ramana Maharshi, that would be the advice they give it. Leave the world's problems to the world. Yeah. Entertain this invitation, let's say. Yeah. Now, a lot of people in a different view would see that as selfish, incredibly selfish. Why aren't you helping people in the world and everything? Yes. But they're seeing it as a certain concern that's imperative. Yeah. Yeah. But someone else would hear it and would say, Ramana Maharshi's trying to get out of the world's concerns. Yeah. Because usually when you hear something from the program that you're in. So if you think someone's saying something, you see it from your view and you think, oh, they're trying to get out of something by saying, let the world take care of itself. Yeah. Now, are they or not can't be known really, because there's the claiming of it and then there's the knowing of something. And on surface, they can look the same way, but the import or the meaning is the person themselves. Now, that person who's captured by the head and has ended up doing something that seems to be terrible, wants any kind of escape from feeling that shit. And so if they've heard a philosophy of non-duality, they'll say they're not a self, yeah, but completely from the self condition, yeah. Another person says something very similar, but the way it's said and the meaning of it is completely different because they're in a different condition, yeah, yeah.
Reminds
So
me of you being told to do the dishes and you telling.
exactly. That was a simple thing, but that was a period where the head had heard the message of non-duality and the head was was looking at it for a new angle. Really, it did. And it was great because I saw I'm not that. But it definitely jumped on it and said, man, and this is what happens with a lot of people I know. They hear about non-duality and then they say, well, there isn't a self, so I'm not an alcoholic, and they get drunk. Yeah. This is what happens. But this is not about the message, it's about what's hearing the message. Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully we describe that which thinks it's the hearer of the message is not you. So the hearing of the message can get to the heart of the matter. Yeah. Your own nature, not the mental condition. Yeah. Yeah. So
Hey, Paul, we've got it's 11:40, but Eileen's got her hand up. You want to go ahead and take Eileen, and then we'll wrap it up.
yeah, yeah. I
Go ahead,
can't see
Eileen.
it. All I see is Kurt, basically.
Okay. Oh, hi, I'm Eileen, spiritual
I got
seeker.
you, Eileen. Yeah.
Um, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to talk, it's very interesting, the difference between the responsibility and the accountability issue. And I'm thinking in AA, like, we don't have an accountability prayer, we have a responsibility prayer. So, and
Yeah.
also if someone, asks me to sponsor them, then I think, this is how I'm thinking from what you said, I'm responsible to, show up, be doing my own work, talking to my own sponsor, all those things I'm responsible for. And if I do all those, I'm not accountable if my sponsee picks up.
Yes. Of course.
So, am I getting that right?
Yes. Yes. It's going to expand to a lot of other things. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The
That's good.
accountability, like my dog, I walked and it took a shit on the neighbor's lawn, and it's my dog, right? So the neighbor doesn't talk to the dog, he talks to me, and he says, your dog, Paul, took a big shit on my lawn. Can you do something about it? And I said, yeah, I'll come and pick it up, and I won't walk around your lawn anymore. Yes? Now, did I take the shit? No, I didn't take the shit. But am I accountable for that shit being taken? Yes, it was my dog, so to speak. Yeah. But being accountable and not responsible, I'm not dwelling on it for 30 fucking years. Why did I take that shit on that guy's lawn? I wasn't responsible for it. So I get relieved of the ever-present arm of the past grabbing my present attention through recognizing the accountability. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Small things and big things. Yeah. Start with the small things and realize the head has been convicting you of a lot of crimes your whole life. I don't mean these big ones that happen on a bigger theater, but you and I, many of us, are just living out sentences that have been dropped on us by being convicted in the court of the mind, of the head. Yes. I don't find any real relief available there. It may put you on probation, but you're always going to be somewhat affected by its influence. If you can see what you're not as not you, I really feel you can grow into a great sense of relief. Yeah. Which actually brings about more accountability because I don't really run that much from accountability. I run a lot from responsibility. Yes. But when I do something that didn't work, I didn't do it on purpose. It was so I'm accountable and I quickly usually point it out. Yes. in the old days, when I was responsible for something, I would move out of state. Yeah. Not to confront that person. I would. I mean, I would do anything not to be held to task because I had such a strong feeling of being the doer of it. When I'm accountable, I don't believe that I'm the one that made that mistake. It was just a weird way of looking. Yeah. And then I just make the amends and I keep going on in my day. Now, I don't know how I would do if I ran over 3 people. I can't. That's only a hypothesis or a, yeah, I don't know. But on small shit, it works really well so far. Yeah. So, but I haven't killed anyone in years and never have killed anyone. So I don't know. Maybe the big one would sink my boat of bliss. I have no idea. Yeah. But you gain strength when you see it in the little things of life, and maybe it'll give you enough strength. Because I also believe that the statement isn't God isn't going to give you what any more than you can handle. I say God's going to give you is never going to give you any more than it can handle. Yeah. So you may think it's way above what you can handle, but I don't believe it's above what it can handle. Yeah. So yeah, you would probably say, how am I ever gonna find forgiveness after I did this shit? You may. Yeah. People have done it a lot of times in prison. People of the family go there and they da 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 and all this stuff that happened. This head is such a closed option. Yeah.
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 You know, we had an old timer, Tom Iverson, who had that situation. He killed a couple people. He ended up running the prison. He ended up becoming the warden of the prison. He's got a great story if you ever want to listen to him on
Wow.
AA
Yeah.
Speak. Yeah.
I'm not that wild about wardens, but I'll have to overlook that. Yeah. Yeah. So this is see when right now we may be imagining from a very small box. Yeah. We can't do justice of what can happen in this life. Yeah. Yeah. Things that you thought could never be can be forgiven, and stuff like that. I remember the last time I spoke in San Quentin, it was a yearly thing. So all the people that worked in